Most people give advice based on the mistakes they made. I'm going to give you advice based on the mistakes I watched you make. Because I have been watching my whole life. While you were talking, while you were performing, while you were so busy filling every room with the sound of yourself, I was sitting right there and I heard everything. The things you said out loud and the things you said between the lines. And after 40 years of listening, I need to tell you what I know, because some of it might save you a decade of pain if you're smart enough to hear it. And look, I know what you're thinking. Here's another old woman about to lecture me. No, I don't lecture. I never have. Ask anyone who's ever known me, and they'll tell you Peggy doesn't push. Peggy doesn't preach. But Peggy notices. And what I've noticed, watching people for 40 years, at kitchen tables, in library aisles, at funerals and weddings and ordinary Tuesdays, is that almost everybody is making the same 5 or 6 errors over and over, and they can't see it because they're too close to their own lives. I'm not too close. I've been standing at a comfortable distance this whole time. So let me tell you what it looks like from here. The first thing I need you to understand, and I mean really let this land, is that the loudest person in the room is almost always the most afraid. I know that sounds like a bumper sticker. Stay with me. I worked in a library for 31 years. Do you know how many people walk into a library and immediately start performing? The way they ask questions, not because they want answers, but because they want to be seen asking. The way they laugh a little too loud at the front desk, or make sure everyone knows what they're reading. I watched this for 3 decades, and the people who came in quiet, who knew exactly what they wanted, who didn't need me to validate their choices, those were the people who slept well at night. I'd bet my life on it. So here's something you can do right now, today, before this video is over. The next time you're in a group and you feel that pull to speak, not because you have something to say, but because the silence feels uncomfortable, don't. Just sit in it for 30 seconds. Watch what happens. Watch how everyone else scrambles to fill the space. And notice that the discomfort you're feeling, that's not a problem. That's information. It's telling you that you've been using noise as a painkiller, and you don't even know what you're medicating. My mother understood this without ever putting it into words. Saturday mornings, she'd be at the counter making bread, and I'd be at the table with a library book, and we would be together for 2 hours without saying more than a handful of sentences. Did you finish your milk? The chickadees are back early. That was it. And those Saturday mornings are the safest I have ever felt in my entire life. Not because of what was said, because of what didn't need to be said. She wasn't performing motherhood. She was just being my mother. There's a difference that took me years to articulate, and I think most people never learn it at all. Now let me tell you about something I got wrong, because I'm not here to pretend I figured it all out. In September of 1987, my friend Dorothy Kessler, lived on Birch Street, had this enormous laugh that didn't match her body at all. She invited me to go on a trip. A group of women from our neighborhood were driving up to Duluth for a long weekend. Nothing fancy. Cabins by the lake, some hiking. Dorothy said there'd be a lot of wine. And I said no. Not because I was busy, not because I couldn't afford it. I said no because I thought I didn't need it. I had my books. I had my quiet. I had Harold and the kids and my routines. Why would I disrupt all of that for a weekend of small talk in a cabin? Dorothy died in 1994, pancreatic, fast and ugly. And I remember sitting at her funeral thinking about that trip to Duluth and how I'd convinced myself I was being true to my nature by saying no, when really I was just scared. Scared that I wouldn't know what to say around all those women. Scared that my quietness would be a burden. Scared that I'd be exposed as somehow less fun, less interesting, less normal. I dressed up my fear as self-knowledge, and I missed the trip, and I never got another chance. So here's what I need you to hear, and I mean you specifically. You, the person watching this who's a little more introverted, a little more comfortable alone. Your solitude is a gift. Protect it, but do not let it become a wall. There is a razor-thin line between honoring your nature and hiding behind it, and most of us cross that line without noticing. If someone invites you somewhere and your first instinct is no, sit with that for a minute. Ask yourself, am I saying no because this doesn't serve me, or am I saying no because I'm afraid? Be honest. The honest answer might still be no, but at least you'll know why. Speaking of fear, let me tell you what I've observed about money, because it's one of the most dishonest conversations people have. I saved. My whole life I saved. Harold and I both did. We were children of people who remembered the Depression, so saving wasn't a choice, it was a reflex, like flinching. And we were good at it. We built up a very comfortable amount over the decades. I won't get into specifics, but more than enough. And you know what we spent it on? Almost nothing. We'd talk about trips. Italy, maybe. Harold wanted to see the trout streams in Montana. We'd talk about renovating the kitchen. We'd talk about it, and then we'd say, maybe next year. Maybe when the kids are older. Maybe when we retire. And then Harold died on a Wednesday in October, and the money was still right there in the account, like a held breath that never got released. I'm not telling you to be reckless. I'm telling you that money is a tool, and a tool that sits in a drawer for 40 years isn't a tool. It's a monument to your own anxiety. If you have the means to do something that would make your life richer, and I don't mean a yacht, I mean dinner with a friend you haven't seen in 5 years, a plane ticket to see your mother, a weekend where you don't calculate the cost of everything. Do it. Do it this month, not next year. Harold never saw Montana. I need you to understand that that sentence is not a metaphor. He literally never went. The money was always there. The time ran out. Now, here's something people don't talk about, and I think it's because it makes them feel guilty. You're going to lose friendships. Not because of betrayal or drama or any of the things they make movies about. You're going to lose them because you simply didn't maintain them. And you won't notice it happening. It's not a door slamming. It's a door slowly swinging shut over 10 years, until one day you realize you haven't spoken to someone who used to know your middle name and your worst habit and the sound you make when you really laugh. And you'll think, I should call them. And then you won't, because too much time has passed and it feels awkward now. Call them. Right now. I'm serious. After this video, pick up the phone and call one person you haven't spoken to in over a year. Not a text, a call. It will be awkward for about 90 seconds, and then it won't be. Because the thing about real friendship is that it doesn't require constant maintenance. It just requires someone brave enough to break the silence. Be that person. I wish I had been that person more often. I had a friend, June Tillman. We were close all through our 20s and 30s, and then her husband got transferred to Phoenix, and we said all the things you say. We'll write, we'll visit, and we didn't. I let 23 years go by. When I finally tracked her down, she'd had a stroke and couldn't speak clearly. We sat on the phone mostly in silence, and even that was better than the 23 years of nothing. But I'll never forgive myself for those years. Not because they were dramatic, because they were just empty. I want to tell you something about marriage, or really about any long partnership, because I've been listening to people talk about their relationships for 40 years, and there is one thing I hear constantly that drives me out of my mind. People say, we just grew apart, as if it's weather, as if it's something that happened to them. You didn't grow apart. You stopped choosing each other. Every single day of a marriage is a choice, and most of those choices are tiny and invisible and boring. It's choosing to put down the book when your partner walks in the room. It's choosing to say, "Tell me about your day," even when you already know it was the same as yesterday. It's choosing not to keep score. Harold and I, we were quiet people, both of us. We could go a whole Saturday afternoon barely speaking, and it was wonderful. But we chose each other in those silences. He'd make my coffee without asking. I'd leave articles I thought he'd like on his nightstand. We developed a language that had almost nothing to do with words, and it was the most articulate relationship I've ever witnessed. But it only worked because we were both paying attention, quietly, constantly. Attention is the currency of love, and most people are absolutely bankrupt and don't know it. So here's your homework. Tonight, whenever you're with your person, your partner, your kid, your parent, whoever lives in your house, put the phone in another room. Not face down on the table, in another room, and just be with them for 1 hour. You don't have to have some deep conversation. You don't have to make it special. Just be in the room and actually be in the room. You'll feel the difference. And more importantly, they will feel the difference. Children especially. Children can tell when your body is present but your mind is in your pocket. They can always tell. My daughter Karen, and she'll kill me for saying this, but she's 62 now and can handle it. Karen went through a period in her 40s where she was furious at me. Furious. She said I was emotionally distant. She said growing up in our house felt like living in a museum. Everything calm, everything curated, no mess allowed. And it stung, I won't lie. It stung because there was truth in it. I was so committed to being the steady, quiet presence that I sometimes forgot children don't just need calm. They need to see you fall apart occasionally. They need to know that feelings aren't dangerous, that anger isn't the end of the world, that crying doesn't break anything. I was so proud of never raising my voice that I didn't realize I was teaching my children that raised voices were catastrophic. Karen spent her 20s terrified of conflict. That's on me. That's my fingerprint on her fear. And I say this not to make you feel sorry for me or for her. We've worked through it. We're close now. She calls me every Sunday. But because I need you to hear this, your greatest strength and your deepest flaw are usually the same thing. My calm was real, and it was beautiful, and it also cost my daughter something. Both things are true. If you can hold that kind of contradiction about yourself without flinching, you're ahead of almost everyone I've ever known. Let me tell you something about getting older that nobody prepares you for. You don't become wise all at once. What happens is you start noticing the same patterns repeating, like watching a play you've seen before, and you think, oh, I've seen this scene. I know how it ends. And the tragedy of it is that you can see it happening to younger people, and there's almost nothing you can do because nobody listens to previews. Everybody insists on watching the full show themselves. I watched my neighbor's son, Michael, lovely boy, coached Little League. I watched him spend 8 years building a business that was eating him alive. Nights, weekends, holidays. His wife would bring the kids to our block party, and Michael was never there. He's working. And everyone nodded like that was noble, like sacrifice was automatically admirable. I wanted to grab him by the shoulders and say, Michael, I have buried a husband. I have watched friends waste away. I have seen what the end looks like, and I promise you, nobody at your funeral is going to say, he really maximized his Q3 revenue. They're going to say, I wish he'd been here more. And that's if they come to the funeral at all. Michael and his wife separated 2 years later. He has the kids every other weekend now. And the business? It's fine. It runs. It makes money. And he sits in that money on his weeknights in a condo that echoes. I'm not making this up. I've watched this exact story play out 6 or 7 times just on my street alone. The specifics change, the ending doesn't. So here's what I want to say to you, if you're the Michael in your life. You are not irreplaceable at work. I'm sorry, but you're not. If you left tomorrow, they'd post your job by Friday. But you are irreplaceable at your kitchen table. You are irreplaceable at bedtime. You are irreplaceable on Saturday morning when your kid wants to show you something stupid on their iPad. That is the only place in the entire world where you cannot be substituted, and you're voluntarily giving it away for a job that would replace you in a week. Please stop. I'm asking you nicely because I never ask anybody for anything, and I'm asking you this. I want to address something else while I have your attention. Grudges. I held one for 11 years, so I know what I'm talking about. My sister-in-law Ruth said something at Thanksgiving in 1978 about how I kept a cold house. She meant the thermostat, maybe, or she meant the emotional temperature. I never found out because I never asked. I just decided she meant the worst possible interpretation, and I held on to that for over a decade. 11 years of stiff holidays. 11 years of Harold quietly trying to broker peace, and me insisting there was nothing to broker because I just didn't care about it, which was the biggest lie I told in my entire marriage. Finally, in 1989, I brought it up. You know what Ruth said? She didn't even remember saying it. 11 years, she didn't remember. And I had built an entire cathedral of resentment around 6 words that the other person had forgotten by dessert. If you're holding a grudge right now, and statistically most of you are, I want you to consider the possibility that the person you're angry at doesn't even know, or doesn't remember, or meant something completely different than what you heard, and you are carrying this weight alone, for free, and it is accomplishing nothing except making your jaw tight and your sleep shallow. Put it down, not for them, for your own back. There's something Harold used to say. He wasn't a man of many words. That's why I married him, honestly. 2 quiet people finding each other felt like a small miracle. But when he did talk, it stuck. He said, "Peggy, most problems are just weather. They pass." And I resisted that for years because I thought it was dismissive. I thought he was minimizing things. But the older I get, the more I understand what he meant. He didn't mean your pain isn't real. He meant that your pain is usually not permanent, and you will survive it. And on the other side of it is a Tuesday where the light comes through the window just right, and you forget for a moment that you were ever suffering. Those Tuesdays are worth staying for. Those Tuesdays are worth building toward. I'm 91 years old. I've outlived my husband, most of my friends, my favorite cat. I've had 3, but Mildred was the best. Don't tell the others. I live alone in a house that used to be loud with children and is now loud with birds, which honestly is an upgrade in some ways. And I'm telling you all of this not because I've figured life out. I haven't. I'm 91 and I'm still learning things. Last month I learned that I've been pronouncing quinoa wrong for a decade. And honestly, that shook me more than most of the things on this list. But here's what I do know, after 40 years of listening while the rest of the world was talking. I know that the people who are happiest are not the ones who have the most. They're the ones who need the least. I know that silence is not empty. It's where most of the important things live. I know that you can love someone deeply and still fail them in ways that take decades to understand. I know that the best apology is changed behavior, not a performance of remorse. I know that a Tuesday in October with good coffee and a cardinal at the feeder can hold more meaning than a vacation you planned for 6 months. And I know that time doesn't care about your plans. It just goes. And the only thing you can do about that is decide right now, today, what you're going to do with the part that's left. So here's my final request, and it is a request, not advice, because I'm too old and too stubborn to pretend there's a difference. Go find some quiet today, even 5 minutes. Turn off the podcast, take out the earbuds, stop scrolling, and just sit with yourself. Most of you haven't done that in months, maybe years, and you're afraid to because you think the quiet will be lonely. It won't be. It'll be full of all the things you've been drowning out, and some of those things will be hard to hear, but they're yours. They've been waiting for you. And in my experience, which at this point is considerable, the things that wait for you in the silence are almost always more important than the things shouting for your attention everywhere else. Thank you for listening. That's the kindest thing anyone can do for another person. I've believed that my whole life. I still do.